It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot going on in the marketplace. If you're one of my friends that sells supply and service print equipment, you're aware that the industry's under enormous pressure. And the pressure's building up, folks, and the pressure will probably cause some to implode. And today I want to talk about our friends over there at Konica Minolta. I believe that Konica Minolta is probably at the forefront. Well, let me just get on the sharpboard. I put a slide together for you. I want to share that slide with you, which will kind of set up today's video. But ladies and gentlemen, here's the question I'm going to ask. Will the weight of circumstances crush Konica? Will the weight of circumstances crush Konica? I have the Konica headquarters here. You can see it's being crushed. It's being crushed by COVID-19, all the variants and all the supply chain issues that came about because of COVID-19. It's being crushed because of the yen's weakness. Wait till I show you that slide. Is it being crushed because of bad investments? Better alternatives. Konica Minolta is definitely under pressure. We all know this. You'd have to be naive not to be paying attention to it. You'd have to be naive not to be putting yourself in a position to replace Konica if Konica is your mainline OEM. And that's kind of what I want to talk about here today because, ladies and gentlemen, Ray Kroc said this, and I think that we should pay attention to what Ray Kroc said because when an industry's in disruption, when an industry's in decline, guess what happens? Well, a lot of tough things happen. A lot of aggressive things happen because people are fighting. They're fighting for survival so that they can bring a new way. But Ray Kroc famously said, if any of my competitors were drowning, I'd put a hose in their mouth and turn on the water. If any of my competitors were drowning, I'd put a hose in their mouth and turn on the water. And folks, you can see I got the faucet, I got the hose, I got the mouth there sitting in the Konica Minolta copy machine. And the question I'm going to ask is, who's prepared to turn on the water? Who's prepared to turn on the water? Folks, if you don't think that our industry is going to get bold leaders doing bold things, you're crazy. It sure as hell is. And you're going to see some shifts and changes in the marketplace that a lot of you couldn't even have imagined just a few short months ago. But folks, here's what I want to ask y'all. Is Kyocera in a position to take Konica's place as your mainline OEM? I've talked to some folks about this when I was recently at the Kyocera meeting. You know, some of those folks sell Kyocera. They also sell Konica Minolta. And I asked the question, why doesn't Kyocera just become your mainline OEM? What are they missing that Konica Minolta has? Doesn't take a rocket scientist. A lot of people will say, well, Konica Minolta has better production equipment. My answer to that dealer was flip the script. Buy all your business print. Buy all your A4 from Kyocera. If you need some production stuff, just call up Konica and buy it. If Konica threatens to cancel you, well, guess what? Kyocera does have the production inkjet. They'll probably get some more added to the line. But I'm sure you could find a way to sell production if that's really what you want to do. And folks, that's a small part of the marketplace. Production print is a small part of the marketplace to try to have a relationship with an OEM that's on the border of collapse, right? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Konica has a robust production line, let's give them that. But Kyocera has a more robust A4, and quite frankly, I think they got a better positioned A3. They have those speed key things. Folks, you know what? Business print's declining. You better pick an OEM that has a robust A4 platform. That's where we're going. You better pick an OEM that understands ink technology because I believe that's where we're going with everything. It's now the time to start thinking, should I replace Konica as my mainline OEM? Folks, don't get surprised. Okay, the unprepared, guess what? They get stomped on by those who prepared. Some things to think about. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this slide right here because, you know, on the things that are causing all the OEMs issues, this weakness in the end is horrific. I mean, it's horrific. Back in January of 24, okay, January 24th of 2022, the yen was sitting on 113.79. When I put this slide together, it's at 136.40. I looked this morning, it's at 135, okay? Folks, that's a 20% increase in cost of all goods coming out of Japan. A 20% increase from January 24th, 2022. just 6 months ago. That increase in cost has to come from somebody, right? Well, if you don't do anything about it, it's coming right out of your operating profit, and we know. I mean, it's not a rocket science. Let me show you the slide. Konica's lost $300 million the last 2 years. They don't have enough operating profit to absorb a 20% increase in cost. Okay? This is a reality. They're the weakest OEM in the space regarding operating profit. Ricoh's not too far behind them. Okay, they're above the line, but they're still weak. The main players that y'all been looking at and dealing with for the last 10 years are in a weak position. Our friends over at Kyocera have been making money all through COVID. Okay? Is that because they have better leadership, better management? Is it because their products are better? Folks, it doesn't really matter, okay? What matters is they're making money. But all the OEMs coming out of Japan, everything coming out of Japan, there's a 20% increase in their cost from just 6 months ago. Let's talk about Konica and what's going to happen. Because, folks, this is a reality to think about this, okay? Whether this happens or not, who knows? Whether Konica can get in there and fix all this stuff, well, it's going to take some bold action. But you know what, folks? Anybody that's watching Konica over the last couple of years, what have we really seen? I haven't seen any real bold changes. As a matter of fact, they're doing most of the things I've been predicting here on the end of the day with Ray. Remember when I said they were going to get rid of their direct operations? And they ran around and started talking about how, well, that's just a rumor, as they were getting rid of their direct operations. I believe all their direct operations go away. I believe right now they're sitting there and they're figuring out what they're going to do. But here are some of the things they're going to discard, folks. Branch head count is going to get drastically reduced. Watch for that. When you see those branches, head count getting drastically reduced, they're positioning themselves. Because a lot of times the buyers, they don't want to have to deal with all the pain of letting everybody go as they just buy the top off these branches and throw it into their dealership. So Konica will do it for them. You know, senior executive eliminations and replacements. You're going to start seeing some senior executives decide to retire. You're going to start seeing replacements of some leaders coming in to clean things up. There's got to be some changes, right? R&D elimination. You're not going to see Konica talking about, well, the enhancements to the workplace hub as an example. They're probably going to put a lot of that stuff on the back burner. Elimination of marketplace VPs. I mean, there's a lot of cost involved with running these branches, with running these direct operations. Those folks back in Japan are thinking to themselves, just get rid of all of that. But folks, here's the reality when that starts to happen. Here's the reality. When that starts to happen, dealers have to make some tough decisions. And here's what I think all Konica dealers need to do immediately. It doesn't even if you're not a Konica dealer, I think all dealers, for all OEMs, should do this exercise immediately. And put yourself in a position to have some power. And let me talk you through this. Build your spreadsheet, okay? Everybody knows how to do a spreadsheet, right? Put the customer name, so you could just block that part off, but you might as well put it on the spreadsheet. Put the marketplace it's in, their address, the model, the lease term, original funding, the hardware cost, including accessories, and the service volume. Could you imagine? You're a Konica dealer, you're a Kyocera dealer. You know, you're a Konica dealer, you're a Sharp dealer. It doesn't really matter. And you have a spreadsheet, and you go to that other OEM and you say this. Over the next 5 years, I've got $8 million worth of cost in hardware that I'm going to replace on lease. Over the next 5 years, I have 20 million pages worth of volume a month that I'm going to replace. What will you do for me? Here's the models I have in the field. Here's the accessories on them. Ladies and gentlemen, think about this. You'll be in a position of power. You'll have all the details, all the facts. Don't blow your chance. Don't blow your chance to take the opportunity, because someone in fact will put that hose in the mouth of the competitor that's drowning. Somebody's going to do it. It might as well be you. It might as well be you to put yourself in a position to have a little bit of power over the OEM versus the OEM having the power over you all these many years, dictating to you, beating you up about quotas. I think about all the things these OEMs do to the dealers. Dealers, you're in the power seat. First of all, an OEM would be out of their mind right now to cancel distribution that was meaningful. They're not going to cancel you because you made them mad. They're going to cancel you because you're not buying anything from them. Give them the true potential of what your dealership could give them. And then set on a path strategically to wipe one out. And the one you want to wipe out should be the weakest one in the room. And we would all have to agree that's probably Konica. Here are some outcomes for Konica, folks, and I believe these to be probable outcomes, okay? Nothing's set in stone. You know, maybe there's a miracle that could happen and Konica could save themselves. I'm in the bus that says that's probably not going to happen. All covered gets spun off, and here's the reality. If you're Konica Minolta in the United States, spin it off. Just spin it off. All covered's probably got some value. Spin the damn thing off. Someone might want to buy it. But I assure you, they're not going to want to buy your direct print operations. Okay, that's not going to happen. The IT business, they'll probably buy that. Those of you that are on Forza, think about it. Think about it. What's going to happen to you? Konica exits print as Panasonic did. This is a probable outcome. I mean, remember the day that Panasonic just said we're done? Hell, they did it again recently with their scanner division. Is Konica, could they just say we're done, shut it all down? You know, if they shed themselves of all the print business, they shed themselves of that healthcare business that's killing them in a profit situation, and they just focused on their industry business, their lens business, they'd be a pretty profitable company because that division is pretty damn profitable. I think it runs like a 20% EBITDA, 20% operating profit. So theoretically, that is a strategy. That is a strategy. Konica print manufacturing business gets absorbed by another OEM. If that happens, I think I did a video on this talking about how Fuji would be in a position to do that. Dealers exit from Konica as Konica picks dealers for direct operations. This is something we all need to think about. I believe Konica already knows where those direct operations are going. We see what they did with the last ones. Basically, 2-3 people got them, right? 2 really big dealers. Well, folks, they're not going to run around town and match it up in the marketplace with the dealer in the marketplace. They're going to give it to a really big dealer again because they want it to be quick, smooth, boom, done. And they've already got a couple big dealers positioned to understand what it means to take over a Konica direct operation. So those 2 guys, I know them, right? Those 2 folks, they could just say, jump right in there and have this thing done in 30 days. Probably switch everything over in 60 or 90. Look for that to happen. How should dealers prepare? Evaluate Kyocera's mainline replacement. Kyocera has a much more robust A4. We've already talked about it. They got the speed keys in A3. They got a lot of advantages that Konica just doesn't have. Plus, they have money. Seek alternatives to any all-covered relationships. If you use an all-covered as your master service provider, I strongly suggest you start to think about what that looks like when they go away or they get bought. How does that relationship maintain? Inventory all Konica assets in field under inspect. Understand the impact of canceling Konica or being canceled. Understand the impact of that. Make sure all rebates and any sales perks are solidified. Folks, get your ducks in a row, if you will. Inventory replacement value of all Konica in field and know what the potential is for Kyocera or any other OEM. Do the spreadsheet, folks. Know your damn numbers. Create the shift. Don't fall victim to a potential disaster. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's video might have been a little bit tough for our friends over at Konica, but it's not about that. It's about dealers realizing we're in a disrupted, challenging industry. It's a pressure cooker. It is an absolute pressure cooker. And the strong will survive. Those that prepare will survive. Those that sit back and do nothing will probably get absorbed by those that did the hard work, by those that made the hard decisions. It's not going to be easy. But one thing we all know for sure, status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.